Growing up, I always had above a 4.0 GPA. In college, I decided I wanted to take it easy and still ended up with a 3.95. I was the valedictorian of my middle school. I was the top student in my college department. And entering into my freshman year of college, I had so many college credits that I was technically a sophomore. And I think that in a lot of ways, it kind of ruined me. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm aware that I'm not the most academic person in the world. I wasn't even the most academic person in my schools. There are people with way more academic pressure and success than me. However, for so much of my life, being an academic kid, being the smart kid was such an integral part of my identity. It was honestly my main personality trait. It's what people knew me for. I'm gonna split this video up into 4 different chapters. First chapter is going to be talking all about insecurity. Second chapter is going to be about validation and the validation that I got from school. Chapter 3, we're going to dive all into guilt and shame. And chapter 4 is going to be all about hustle culture and how this is affecting me now in my adult life. But before we get into all of that, I really want to go to Alfred's, get myself a breakfast bagel and a matcha latte. I'll have timestamps in the description box with all of the chapters. I really just want this to be personal. I want it to be chatty. All right, let's go get some breakfast. All right, we're back. I got a matcha. Let's delve into my childhood. Okay, for real though, chapter 1, insecurity. I think this sets the stage for everything else we're gonna talk about in this video. I grew up as a very shy, very insecure kid. I had an older sister who was really loud and outgoing, who was friends with everybody, who had like such a more prominent social life than I did, and I was just really quiet. I liked reading. I liked Harry Potter. The more I put myself out there and continuously got rejected or made fun of for, speaking my mind on anything or for trying to be funny or have a personality at all, the more I was like, okay, I'm just not gonna talk. I'm gonna be a fly on the wall. I'm not gonna voice my opinions. I'm not gonna talk about what I like. Like, I'm gonna do everything I can to draw as little attention to me as possible. So basically, I shut myself off from any sort of real social life for a long time, for many years. I was just really insecure up until like college, honestly. In addition to being insecure just because of like the social scene I was in / not being accepted by people in my grade, I also was really insecure about my appearance. I was a little heavier than a lot of the kids I was around. I didn't really know how to like work with my hair, and we weren't allowed to wear makeup. I went to Catholic school, which is a whole other topic. I wasn't allowed to wear makeup, so it's not like I could really do anything to change my appearance or to try to feel better about it. I didn't feel cute. I didn't feel like anyone else thought I was cute. In fact, I knew no one else thought I was cute. And having like guys be grossed out by you when you're young, like that has a psychological impact, like that left its mark for sure. So I was getting zero validation socially. I didn't feel hot or attractive or validated in a physical sense at all. And this sort of resulted in me being pushed towards 2 different things. One is the internet. I was on like a writing website and I would get some validation, some attention there. People thought I was cool because I thought I was a good writer. Now looking back, it's like I was 14, like I was not that good of a writer. At the time, it was a really good place for me to find community. And the other way that I got validation was through school. Okay, so let's talk about this concept of validation. Like I said, I was being deprived of it in most of the different sections of my life. And the one place that I felt like I excelled, that I felt like came easily to me if I just put in some time, was school. I think it's surprising that this ended up being the route that I went. Both my parents were super academic. My sister was super academic. It just sort of was a part of the family. It came super naturally. And it was something that made me feel accomplished, Teachers would be impressed by me. Peers would ask me for help with homework. That was like the only time that they would talk to me, right? My parents were really proud of how good of a student I was. I was constantly being praised by adults for being so good, so flexible, so like nice and unproblematic. Basically, in contrast to my sister who had this big personality and all of that, I was shy and quiet, easy to deal with, basically. Easy to deal with, got good grades, put my head down, read my books, didn't cause any drama, and that's what I was praised for. So that's what I stuck with. Just like putting my head down, doing my work, and being as easygoing as possible to a fault, like to the point where I had no backbone. I had a hard time vocalizing like things that were bothering me. Like I just became a good student and that's it. And I'm quiet, I don't cause problems, I don't cause drama. I was the perfect kid because that was the only thing I felt I could do well enough to win other people's approval. It's pretty depressing. Grades are a very easy, very concrete source of validation. There's no denying that. When you get an A on a paper or on a test, it is a very literal pat on the back, you know? It's so reliable, it's so dependable. It became almost this sense of I have to do this because this is what I'm good at. And even though I would envy the kids who really took it easy at school and gave it 50% effort, and most of their attention was on their social life or being the lead in the school play. I envied those kids that were multifaceted and weren't so stressed about academics, weren't staying up all night and still got fine grades. I was envious of that, but it felt like something I couldn't do because I was I don't have these other things. Having a good social life, thriving in hobbies just didn't feel as accessible to me. I felt like I was missing out a lot. I felt like I was trying way harder than I needed to, but I didn't know how to do anything else. This is how I'd functioned my whole life. Definitely felt some pressure to maintain it. I was if I lose this, if I lose being a good student, what do I have left? What is the rest of my identity? And I felt like I had no idea what that was. All right, chapter 3, let's talk about shame and guilt. Around my senior year of high school was when I really started to develop my own identity and personality outside of academics. Before this, I had secret hobbies, things I would sneak away to do on my computer that no one knew about. I definitely had other elements of my personality that were really on the down low. This is the first time that I began to publicly express other interests. The best way I can describe it is that I became more art-y. I started going into New York City more. I made new friends outside of school that I would go to the city with. I started dressing a lot more differently, a lot more bravely, I guess you could say. I was really coming into my own and getting a lot less scared to express myself. I was 100% met with a lot of pushback from people who had just not been used to me being like this. You know, it caused issues with my family a little bit because I wanted to start dressing differently and I seemed like I was more out there now or whatever. I decided I wanted to go to college to pursue a creative career. And this is when I really started realizing that I didn't want to be this academic persona for the rest of my life. I was actually really interested in the arts and I wanted to go into photography and filmmaking. This is where the guilt and shame come in. So when I went to college, I made a commitment to myself of okay, I really want to put school on the back burner. I don't want to stress too much about grades or assignments. I really want to focus on building my creative skills, paying attention to my social life, paying attention to me for the first time in my life. And I did a really good job of this at first. My freshman year of college, I was going out more. I had a friend group. I felt cool and popular for the first time, which was crazy. For the first time in my life, I was really getting social validation. It was the first time that I felt attractive and confident in my appearance and other people were interested in me. You know, it was my first time getting a lot of attention from guys in my life. I was really starting to get into photography and people were a big fan of the photos I was taking. Looking back on them now, I think they're kind of bad. But at the time, you know, I was getting a lot of comments on Instagram from people that hated me in high school, appreciating my photos. So I was getting creative validation from something non-academic, you know, from a hobby. And I was getting social validation for the first real time in my life. And even though in theory, this really does mean that I could stop depending so heavily on academics for making me feel valid or important, my brain was so hardwired to care about grades, to care about what teachers thought, to care about always getting A's that I could not let go of that. There was this constant inner battle in myself where I could not give 90% to school. I tried so much harder than I had to. I went to a pretty easy school where it was not that hard to get good grades and I was in a creative major. My classes weren't, you know, rocket science, but I was still putting in so much more effort than the rest of the student body, while also trying to be social, trying to build up my photography. Anytime I would focus on something else for too long, I think I had a mini identity crisis, and it translated into me feeling guilty for spending time on other things, for prioritizing other things. It took me years throughout my college experience to really get more comfortable, taking my foot off the gas a little bit, but I don't think I'm free of that sort of obsessive mentality, that need for validation from being productive, even now. Even though I'm not in school anymore, even though I'm out into my adult life, the way that this has manifested and continues to be a difficult thing for me is that I feel like I need to be productive / improving myself every second of the day. It's no longer about the academics and the good grades, but now it's about an inability to relax. If I spend time to like do my hair and makeup, I feel like I'm wasting time. If I spend time watching TV, I feel like I'm wasting time. Even though I don't have any school to go to, if I'm not working, I feel the need to be hustling on something. It's translated into this obsession with like self-development and like productivity, really is what it is productivity. And so that sort of leads us into chapter 4. I recognize so much of this same sort of head to the ground, like get it done at all costs. That same culture that permeated through the academic kids in school is now like the forefront of hustle culture. It's this same sort of obsession with like performance, with treating ourselves almost as like robots or like just not humans that have other needs and other things that need to be paid attention to, you know what I mean? It's made me so career focused that I like literally can't like focus on anything else. Like I would love to just take a month where I'm like, I'm not gonna worry about progressing my career. I'm just gonna stay where I'm at and I'm going to be social and have fun on my days off. That is a foreign concept to me. And I really think that it all sort of comes back to that younger obsession with trying to get validation through work, through school, and not feeling like spending time on friends or on myself or my appearance because I never got anywhere with that. Like, I don't feel like those are valid uses of my time, even though now I know those are equally important parts of life. It is something that has continued to affect me. And if you're in school right now and you're feeling the same pressure, I cannot stress enough that it is not the most important thing, that you deserve to spend time on other aspects of your life. And if you too are out of school and sort of feeling the repercussions of having been so academic when you were younger, I feel for you. That's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed talking about this with me. I definitely want to keep like having chattier videos like this, just like diving into topics and psychology and all of that. I'll see you in the next one. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Okay, bye.